Hey, 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 happy Thursday, y'all, and welcome to Bankroll Your Brilliance Thursdays. I'm Nicole Roberts Jones, the Bankroll Your Brilliance expert. I'm always excited to be here with you on Thursdays at 12 p.m. EST to hold the space for you in one of three areas, and sometimes all three. Today is all three. The first is to make sure you're clear on your brilliance, the one thing God has created you to do in this world. The second is the value tied to it. And the third is how do you create multiple streams of income from it? So this week, let me tell you up front, I'm actually pre-recording this episode because I am on a college tour with my niece as you're watching this live. So this episode and my next one with you, I'll be on college tours, but I'm always committed to be here even if I can't be here with you live. So those of you that come here week after week, you know how I do. I want you to comment. I want you to come and tell me hello. I want you to share and tell me if any of what I'm going to share resonates with you because I will come back and comments and read every single one of your comments, answer your questions, and all of that. So we are continuing with a four-part series. I'm going to tell you this third part is the question most people ask me about. So we're talking about the areas you must leverage to grow. Now, if you're going to grow your business into six figures, seven figures, eight figures, you've got to leverage four areas. Matter of fact, these are kind of the tires I call on the vehicle that your business needs if it's going to move anywhere. And so we talked about the first 2 weeks. So if you've missed any of it, may I encourage you to go and watch previous episodes on my YouTube channel. So you can go and watch part one and part two on my YouTube channels there on the screen, nrjnetwork.com. You go to Bankroll Your Brilliance Thursdays. It's one of my topics on my YouTube channel because I'm going to tell you, you need all four areas, okay, to have a successful revenue generating business, okay? But everybody wants to know this topic, which I'm going to talk to you about how to leverage revenue. So first week we talked about leveraging your brilliance. Last week we talked about leveraging visibility. And I got to tell you, your brilliance is the foundation that your business sits on. So if you're not clear on your brilliance and how to articulate the predictable results your brilliance gets your ideal client to, and oh, by the way, if you don't know who your ideal client is, because you're not everybody's answer, then you're already setting your business up to fail. And then if you aren't allowing yourself to be seen as the answer to that group of people, you're not everybody's answer. So if you can't package your brilliance in a way that you're allowing yourself to be seen as the answer to that group, that's a whole problem. You know, the one thing people are looking for is what's in it for me. So when you're vague, when you're not able to show that group, so listen, when you're trying to talk to everybody, nobody hears what they need from you. I can't say that enough. So as I start to talk to you about this area, back in 2018, by the way, let me say this before I start. In our first episode, I shared with you that it took me 17 years for my business to make any money. I showed you my whole story about why I'm passionate about why I teach how to bankroll your brains. Because there was a time in my business that my business was broke and broken. It didn't matter that I had a master's degree. It didn't matter that I was teaching as an adjunct professor at two prestigious universities. It didn't matter that I had the bio that looked good. I had all the things that made me look successful. But I didn't have these things that I'm walking you through because I didn't know what I didn't know. And I really feel like, and to be honest with you, God began to show me that he had it take so long for me to get it so that I'd be so passionate about what I teach so that it doesn't have to take you so long to get it. So maybe it's been over 5 years now. God began to show me he led me to Genesis 1:28. That Bible verse says, be fruitful, multiply, have dominion. Now, if you've been with me, you come here week after week, I talk about this Bible verse all the time. This has become my mandate to teach, but it's all of our mandates to live. Now, when God first told me this Bible verse, listen, anytime I hear this Bible verse, I think it means to have babies. And at 48, and still at 52, will be 53 this year. Yep, I'm out in my age. I have not birthed any babies of my own, right? I have phenomenal bonus children. I have grandchildren, thanks to my bonus children, but I have not birthed a baby. And so when God told me to be fruitful and multiply, I thought God was telling me to have a baby. And I'm like, hold on, Lord, stop. Wait a minute. I don't know if I'm feeling that and I don't want to be disobedient. And I'm sharing that with you because literally what God began to show me is that He gave us brilliance so that we could be fruitful and multiply. So multiply is what I mean by revenue. So I want to give you another something to look at when I talk about the context of multiply. Okay. So I really want you to understand as I'm walking you through this series, if you're going to have the dominion God intended for you to have in this world, you've got to understand the lane God intended for you to have dominion in. That's that brilliance. That's the whole conversation I had with you the first week. And then when you dominate in the lane that God created you to dominate in, that is why you got to allow it to be seen. Matthew 5:16 talks about the fact that you got to let your light shine before men, and I always say and women, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. See, God wants your light to shine so that people can see you as the very thing they need. People are praying for the thing that's inside of you. That's why the first 2 weeks are uber important. And so as I talked to you about this third week, when my business was failing, part of the reason my business was failing is because I didn't understand true revenue generation models. And I'm saying models plural. Many of us, me included, think that we start a business and we only have one revenue generation model. And so as I talk about this makes me think of another story in the Bible. I'm going to give you the Cliff Note version, but I want you to go read it. Homework alert. Matthew 25:14 through 30. Many of you have heard this story. I still want you to go read it. It's interesting when you hear these stories in the Bible. I don't care how long, I don't care if you've heard them in Sunday school when you were little. I don't care if you've heard sermon after sermon after sermon on the same old story. What's interesting is you can hear the same Bible verse over and over again. It always hits me differently every time I hear it. So even though you've heard the parable of the talents, I want you to still go read it. Every time I read it, I see something different. What's interesting, so this is the version according to Nicole Roberts-Jones, but you go read it and you'll hear something different when you hear it, when you read it, okay? So this wealthy man, excuse me, has 3 employees. And I said servants, I'm not feeling that word. I'm going to say employees. So one employee gives 10 fold. To another one, he gives 5, and one he gives 1. And he goes away. He doesn't say, he just says, hold it for me. I'll be back. The one he gives 10 invests it and makes 3 times. The one he gives 5, he invests it and makes double. The one he gives 1 to, he digs a hole in the ground, puts it in the ground, and pretty much does nothing with it. He just holds it. So here's what he says to that one. He says to him in Matthew 25:26 through 28, when he comes back, he says, you wicked and lazy servant, you knew that I reap where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. So you ought to have deposited my money with the bankers, and at my coming, I would have received back my own with interest. So you take that talent from him. So he's saying to another one, you take that from him. And he's saying that because he's saying, listen, you take that from him because you did something with what I gave you. He did nothing. So think about this. What if God took your gifts and talents from you because you're doing nothing with it? That's all God is asking you to do when you start to grow your business. Those of you that work a career, he's asking the same of you. See, when you sit in mediocre, when you sit in good enough, you're doing nothing with what God has given to you. So when my business was failing, I kept sitting in good enough and I wasn't multiplying my gift. But I began to see, and this is one of the things I teach you. By the way, I'm getting ready to invite you to a 2-day coaching intensive that I do called Be the Answer. Those of you that know, like, it's time for you to multiply your gift in you. I teach you how to create 6 streams of revenue in your business effortlessly, which is how you multiply. When my business was failing, I only had one stream of revenue, which was coaching. And when you only have one stream of revenue in your business, you'll never make the money that you could make. But for me, it's not just about the money you could make. It's a transformation that could happen. But the thing that's interesting, y'all, we always think the rich get richer. It's really the law of seed time and harvest. See, when God sees you multiply what he's given to you, he's going to give you more because he keeps seeing you multiply it. And ultimately, what God wants you to do is to do more with what he has given to you. So when I grow and I multiply what God has given to me, that means I can serve more people. It's about gaining for God. I want you to look up the word profit in the dictionary. The word profit means a valuable return. It means to gain. And when I'm doing the thing that God has blessed me to do in this world, the people that I serve are gaining. Because the people that I am called to serve need me. Just like there's a group of people that need you. Even those of you that work a 9 to 5, there's a role you play that's a bigger part of a system. And every part that each of you play in that system solves a problem in your marketplace. And every piece that becomes a larger part of that bigger system multiplies your ability to serve more people. Y'all get this? There's a quote, but before I do this is why leveraging revenue, which is part 3, and really leveraging profit is what I should call it. And understanding how you leverage your own gain is so important. When I look at clients like those of you that were part of my Rich in Your Niche Summit last week, I look at clients like Michelle, who was a school administrator, who couldn't figure out how she could leverage her gift for administration. Let me explain to you that she just did a partnership with Microsoft, that she now is teaching schools all over the country, administrators all over the country through Microsoft by use of her gift and her curriculum that we developed together. Because you're not leveraging the brilliance that's inside of you and multiplying your gifts to serve more people. So you're thinking small, which means you're serving a small God. Oh, there's so many ways you can leverage that gift. So those of you that know, like that now is your time, I want to show you why. A little snippet of why I created Be the Answer, and then I'm going to come back and dig a little deeper into this whole model of why this multiply and increase is so important. And then I'll wrap up part 3. Oh, and there's still part 4 next week, y'all. So hang tight. I'll be back for more. Hi, I'm Nicole Roberts-Jones, the creator and host of the Be the Answer 2-day intensive live event. Now, when I think about having my event and actually going to any event, it makes me think about the experience I had when I attended my very first event over 5 years ago. See, I attended that event because, to be honest with you, my business was failing and I knew I needed help. Now, that was despite the fact that by that time I had been in business for over 17 years. I said 17. And I want you to get this. For all intents and purposes, I looked successful, but I was only generating, 17 years in now, I was only generating $13,000 a year. And because of that, I was ready to quit. I was ready to throw in the towel. I was ready to just give up on being an entrepreneur altogether. Now, that was back in November of 2010. And in that moment, I signed up for a free webinar. And after watching that free webinar, I registered for the conference that they invited me to on that webinar. See, I registered for the conference. I bought my plane ticket. I booked my hotel because I said to myself, this is going to be my last try. And I got to tell you, attending that conference, it changed my business and actually it changed my life. Now, I took a risk in going. I got bold, I got radical, and I got the guts to really go after what I wanted. And because I stepped up and stepped out, what happened was when I got to this event, I got tools. I learned from experts. I got the insight on how to move from the hustle I was in to truly making money. See, I got clear on how to create a bigger picture. I got clear in that room and I got committed on that day to being the answer. And here's what I want you to get. See, because I took action, because I got tools and I signed up for a mastermind all at that event, is how I went from making $13,000 a year to making over $200,000 a year in my business. Now, I share that with you because that's the exact reason I wanted to create Be the Answer. See, when I was making $13,000 a year, I knew I was doing the very thing I was meant to do, but I just had taken myself as far as I could take myself. And that's where many of you are. You have been in business, but you are not reaching the level of success that you desire and, quite frankly, you deserve. And it's time. It's time for you to move into your next, into your more. See, I wanted you to have the same experience from all that I learned, the contacts I made, the coach I hired, and the action that I took at that event that allowed the meaning I was already making to actually make me money. And when I'm talking about money, I'm talking about 6-figure, 7-figure success. And yeah, that's why I created Be the Answer. See, at Be the Answer, we're going to help you completely change the way that you're doing business, the way that you have productivity in your business, the way that you have and are creating multiple streams of income. We're going to look at the way you're serving the world, and we're going to make sure you have the systems and the strategy in place so that you can and will be successful. See, all of that matters. And you can work harder and you can work harder, you can work harder, but you doing the same thing over and over will keep producing the same result. And so that is why I created Be the Answer, for every woman entrepreneur that's out there that knows that there's abundance with her name on it waiting for her. If that's you and you're ready for your more, then I look forward to seeing you at Be the Answer. So by the way, it's for men too. So fellas, you are more than welcome to join us. Be the Answer Intensive. And listen, I have a gift for you. $50 off. Use the code LABOR22. Now, I'll be honest with you, we're almost halfway sold out. So if you know, like you know, now's your time. I want you in the room. And the reason I hop back on the screen is I also want to tell you this. This is not an event where it's a bunch of speakers. I call it an intensive because it's me and you for 2 days. I keep it small so I can really coach you, so we can move you forward from wherever you are right now. So with that, let me wrap up this conversation with this. What have you been overlooking about your gift? I should really say about what you already have. For me, when I hired that coach at that event, see, I was overlooking the fact that I've always been a natural producer. I have been overlooking the fact that I produce people effortlessly. I have been overlooking the fact that I can see your gift and see all the ways that you can create programming from it. And once my coach began to show me that, after I started working with her, she showed me that in our first session, by the way. Not only did I begin to love what I do in a new and more fulfilling way, but I started making much more money doing it. And I need you guys to understand this. Every time I say much more money, every time I generate more money, I can bring in more team. I can serve more people. It allows me to bring in more infrastructure, and it allows me to do much more in my business. And so I wonder what more could you do when you begin to see all the ways that you're leaving transformation behind? Because just like my client, Michelle, who I just used as an example, and I'm only using her as an example because she was a part of Rich in Your Niche Summit, or Kristen, who was a journalist, who had been helping people get their first on-air job for free. And now she has an on-air academy. I go on and on about countless people that have been using their brilliance for good, but have been doing it for free. And now that she took that gift and packaged it into an on-air academy helping journalists, she also is helping high school students because the school has bought that same academy. And I can go on and on and on. Whose transformation is waiting for you? Who is waiting for you? Whose dream will come true because you said yes to all the transformation that you don't even know that's present? See, some of you have dug a hole and put your purpose in the ground. And I need you to understand that God is going to let you settle for whatever level you settle for. There's a quote that says, deliberate mediocrity is a sin. And many of you are being deliberately mediocre. And so as we finish this third step, leveraging your profit. Again, it's about gaining for God, because when you make more money, you do more good, not just for you, but for the people that need you, and ultimately for God, which then his gift back to you is that you profit too. So I look forward to continuing this conversation with you and really wrapping it up in week 4. Week 4 is the most important piece, because without week 1 and week 2, everybody wants week 3, by the way. But week 4 is what wraps it up in a bow, because week 4 is all about the execution of it all. As my mom used to say it all the time, or my grandmother, somebody used to say it all the time, and you probably have heard it too. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. It's like, I know, mommy, if I fail to plan, I plan to fail. She used to say that all the time. And so we want to look at the areas you need to understand that without them, your business would never be fruitful. See, fruitful means producing good results. How do you assure that you produce good results? Ultimately, because God gave you a gift so that it produces good results. And when you produce good results, it's meant to have increase. It's meant to be in abundance. That's that multiply. All right. So with that said, thank you for joining me for this episode. I want to know, what will you do with what God gave you? Will you be like that first employee and get 3 times back, because you're doing the work to increase? So you reap what you sow. So what you put into it, you'll get back. No sowing, no reaping. You get back what you put into your gift. You put nothing into it, you receive nothing out of it. And for many of you, a coming to be the answer might be your first sowing into your gift. One more time, I'll put it up for those of you that know it's time to grow your gift. I look forward to serving you. BeTheAnswerIntensive.com. You can read all about it. The bonus, you start immediately, which is a masterclass, a 2-day intensive, and then there's training. Listen, you start an online training immediately. We have some pre-activation the week of, and then the 2-day intensive, which, by the way, is virtual. All right. So with that said, y'all, I look forward to continue our conversation next week. Well, ending it with our final step. All right. I'll see you next week for our final part 4 of Leverage to Grow. Bye, y'all.